Here's something that doesn't make sense at first. Your cat has a full water bowl. Fresh water, clean bowl. Right there in the kitchen. You refill it every day. And yet, your cat barely touches it. Maybe a few laps in the morning, maybe nothing at all. And you've probably thought, they must just not be thirsty. But here's the thing. Your cat is almost certainly dehydrated right now. Not dramatically, not critically, yet, but quietly, chronically, daily. And the water bowl sitting 3 feet away isn't solving it. Because here's what most cat owners don't realize. The problem was never whether your cat had access to water. The problem is that your cat's biology was never designed to drink from a bowl in the first place. And that single fact, once you truly understand it, changes everything about how you think about your cat's health. Segment 1. The desert ancestor your cat never left behind. Let's go back, because this is where it gets really interesting. The domestic cat descends directly from the African wildcat, a small, lean predator that evolved in some of the most arid terrain on the planet. North African deserts, scrublands, environments where standing water was scarce, unreliable, and often dangerous. In that world, a cat who depended on finding a water source to survive was a cat with a serious vulnerability. So evolution solved the problem elegantly. Cats developed the ability to extract almost all of their hydration from the prey they caught. The blood, the tissue, the moisture locked inside a fresh kill, that was their water source. Not a stream, not a puddle. Prey. A mouse is approximately 70% water. A cat eating 3 mice a day in the wild is consuming a significant amount of fluid without ever approaching a water source. Their bodies adapted to this so completely that their thirst drive, the biological signal that tells an animal to seek water, became remarkably weak compared to dogs, humans, and most other mammals. Now fast forward to your kitchen. Dry kibble in a bowl, 8 to 10% moisture, a static water bowl nearby that smells of the air, the plastic, and nothing like prey. Your cat's ancient brain looks at that bowl and registers almost nothing. No urgency, no pull. The thirst signal that should be screaming is barely whispering, because it was never designed for this situation. That is the root of the problem, and it has been quietly building in your cat's body day after day for their entire life. Segment 2. What chronic dehydration is actually doing. Almost nobody talks about this connection, and it is the reason this conversation matters so much. Mild chronic dehydration in cats doesn't look like anything. That's the problem. Your cat eats, plays, sleeps, seems completely normal. Meanwhile, inside their body, the consequences are accumulating. The kidneys are the first and hardest hit. Their entire function depends on adequate fluid, to filter waste, to flush toxins, to maintain the blood concentration at levels the body can manage. When fluid intake is consistently low, the kidneys compensate by concentrating urine more aggressively. Concentrated urine, day after day, year after year, creates the conditions for crystal formation, urinary tract inflammation, and the slow erosion of kidney tissue that shows up, eventually, as chronic kidney disease. Remember, 60 to 70% of kidney function is already lost by the time blood tests show a problem. The damage being done right now by chronic dehydration is invisible until it isn't. Beyond the kidneys, chronic dehydration affects digestion. Cats who don't drink enough are more prone to constipation, which in older cats can become a serious and painful condition. It affects skin and coat health. It affects energy levels in ways so gradual that most owners attribute the change to aging rather than something addressable. This is not a small issue. It is one of the most significant and preventable health risks in domestic cat care. Segment 3. Why the bowl isn't working and what actually does. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I've tried everything. My cat just doesn't drink. Here's what most people don't realize. Your cat isn't refusing water. They're responding rationally to signals their biology sends about what water is safe and worth drinking. In the wild, still water near a kill site was often contaminated. Moving water, streams, rainfall, was safer. Cats evolved a preference for fresh, moving water sources that is deeply wired. A static bowl of water that has been sitting for 12 hours smells stale to a cat's nose, even if it looks clean to yours. This is why pet fountains work so dramatically well. Moving, filtered, freshly oxygenated water triggers the ancient preference for safe water sources that's been dormant in your cat's biology. Studies show cats drink up to 50% more water from a fountain than a static bowl. That is not a small difference. But fountains aren't the only answer. Location matters enormously. Cats instinctively avoid drinking near their food. In the wild, the area near a kill was the most likely to attract other predators and contamination. Place water sources away from the food bowl. Different room if possible. Multiple locations throughout the home. The more access points exist, the more naturally drinking gets woven into their daily movement. Wet food is the other major lever. One meal of quality wet food per day raises your cat's moisture intake dramatically, bringing it far closer to what their biology was designed to process. If your cat resists wet food initially, warm it slightly. The aroma opens up and activates feeding interest in a way that cold food from a can simply doesn't. Segment 4. How to know if your cat is dehydrated right now. Here's something practical you can do in the next 60 seconds. Gently pinch a small fold of skin at the back of your cat's neck, the scruff, and release it. In a well-hydrated cat, the skin snaps back immediately. In a dehydrated cat, it returns slowly or holds the pinch shape for a moment before settling. This is called the skin Turgor test, and while it's not a definitive medical diagnosis, it's a useful at-home indicator. If the skin is slow to return, your cat needs more fluids, and a vet visit is warranted. Other signs to watch: dry or tacky gums instead of moist and slick. Sunken eyes. Lethargy that seems heavier than usual. Decreased urination in the litter box, or conversely, very dark, strongly odored urine. Loss of appetite, which in cats can be both a cause and a consequence of dehydration. If you notice more than one of these signs together, don't wait. Dehydration in cats can deteriorate faster than most owners expect, and in a cat with any pre-existing kidney compromise, it can tip a manageable condition into a crisis quickly. Actionable takeaways. Here's exactly what to do starting today. Move the water bowl. Right now, away from the food bowl, to a different part of the room or a different room entirely. This single change for many cats increases drinking immediately. Add a second water source somewhere your cat spends time. Near their sleeping spot. By the window they sit at. Make water impossible to avoid. Try a pet fountain this week. The investment is small. The impact on lifetime kidney health is not. Introduce wet food at 1 meal a day. Warm it slightly. Give it 10 days before deciding it isn't working. And do the skin Turgor test tonight, just to know where you're starting from. Here's the truth that ties all of this together. Your cat isn't broken. They aren't being difficult. They aren't ignoring the water bowl out of stubbornness or indifference. They are an animal whose entire biology was shaped by a world that no longer exists, and they are doing their best to survive in a domestic environment that, in some quiet but significant ways, works against them. The water bowl you set out with good intentions isn't enough. Not because you failed, but because nobody explained what enough actually looks like for a cat. Now you know. And now, every time you fill that fountain, warm that wet food, or move that water bowl across the room, you'll know exactly what you're doing for your cat. You're giving them water the way their body was always meant to receive it. Does your cat drink from a fountain or a bowl? And have you noticed a difference? Drop it in the comments. And if your cat has a weird water habit, only drinks from running taps, knocks the bowl over first, only drinks at 2 a.m., I want to hear it. Those stories are always the best ones. If you made it this far, you understand something most people never will. Cats aren't just pets. They're complex, emotional, intelligent beings. Tap the video on your screen to keep learning the secret language of cats. And subscribe to Cat Class, because understanding your cat changes everything.